Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. It is the football catch-up show. We're going to be looking back at the weekend's Alliance National Football League action. The 2025 Alliance National Football League has concluded. We know now who are the various different divisional winners. Obviously, Kerry picking up the Division 1 crown, Monaghan champions of Division 2, and Offaly and Limerick both tasting success as well. So we're going to be dissecting all four of the games, breaking them down in great detail. And I'm joined here by Matthew Hurley from the Gaelic Statsman podcast to run through it in more detail. So I suppose firstly, Matthew, how's life? How's things? Good to have you back on. And I suppose a good weekend of football action.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Aaron. Long time no see, obviously. Been very busy with games and stuff like that. It's kind of a different kind of a scenario for me this year. Not as much as a Cork football supporter, but as part of the media, which I'm absolutely delighted about, obviously, but you can't get kind of overexcited at any stages. And Cork are playing Limerick next weekend, which is a game I'm looking forward to, obviously. But in terms of the league finals this weekend, didn't have to go to a game, so I just sat down on the couch and watched these four games. And to be fair, like I would say two of them were very, very interesting. Like Monaghan's performance against Roscommon in particular was eye-opening in the way that Monaghan were absolutely exceptional on Saturday. Offaly and Kildare, I thought was a brilliant game of football. And then you look at the other two, yes, Wexford and Limerick, you could argue that two of those sides are at Division 4 for a reason. But Kerry and Mayo, and I said this to Seamus last night as well, it looked like a game where they were kind of going through the motions. No side were desperate at winning the game. There was a moment in the game where a few moments where McLaughlin scores a goal, Ryan O'Donoghue gets a 2-pointer, Mayo are kind of back into the game, but then Kerry kill it off somewhat. The kind of beef between Colin Reeve and David Clifford was quite interesting as well. But other than that, there wasn't much to report on really, which was quite disappointing. I don't know how to feel about Kerry winning the league, to be honest with you. Like, I know Jack has won the league, won the championship after winning the league, but yesterday was kind of like they were coming up against a kind of a poor Mayo team, and you probably could understand in round 7 of the league why Mayo were kind of lucky. Like if Donegal scored that penalty in Castlebar, Mayo would actually go down to Division 2 and they wouldn't have been in the league final. So look, it swings around and roundabouts. You would say that Mayo were kind of lucky to be in the league final in the first place. They got there, you have to say, on merit, but probably not. But yeah, it was just a poor enough league final. But then again, you could argue like the championship is next weekend. Another discussion as well. Not really any kind of promotion in terms of the championship. I see the RT ads have come out, Ireland. Literally, it's a bunch of, I'd say, about 5 or 6 kids sitting on a wall with no music, just a 5-second ad, and that's what we're living in now with the RT ads. And it's just, you would expect a bit more excitement with the championship coming up next week. Like the first live game across all platforms will be on Saturday between Roscommon and London, and you probably wouldn't have noticed it unless you searched well through social media. And it's just a shame, it really is. And but look, the league finals, there were some decent games. The Division 1 maybe not so much, but yeah, looking forward to getting into it all the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they definitely do need to look at the league finals and changing them around. Either like I'm not like I like the league finals. I don't want them to be scrapped. I don't want them to go. But at the same time, they do need to change the timing of them, because even watching that Kerry Mayo game yesterday, like it just felt like a nothing game. It just felt like there was nothing really on the line. It felt like Kerry were a couple of points in front going down the home stretch, and it just didn't really feel like Mayo even necessarily wanted to overly push it to come back into the game. They're almost happy to allow Kerry to go on and win it. And obviously Kerry were by far the better side in the end, but it did feel like a bit of a nothing game. And obviously, look, the other division finals had a bit more in them, a chance for silverware in Croke Park for the likes of Offaly and Limerick, which obviously doesn't happen very often, and Monaghan obviously getting their moment as well. But yeah, especially with the championship a week later, and even as you said with the promotion as well, like I feel like we should have a 2-week build up to the championship. The fact we're going from like a week in between, it barely even gives us any time to even prepare or even think about the championship, especially so close after the league. It is a bit mad.
The thing is as well, Aaron, the crazy thing is we're still in the Alliance League cycle, because the 2 hurling finals are next Sunday as well, and they're happening the same weekend as the championship starting. I just think you kind of need to separate those competitions though. Like if you've had the standalone fixtures, just say Offaly, Waterford, Cork, Tipperary, and that would be it for the weekend, then you'd have proper build-up towards the championship. Like even small things like the ads on RT, like they should be, like last year they recycled the same ad from the last 3 seasons. This year there's nothingness. They might prove to have a better ad later on in the week, but we're on Monday and the championship starts on Saturday. The first game on RT starts on Sunday between Donegal and Derry, and there's, other than League Sunday last night, to be fair, Joanne was promoting it as well as she could, but there's just been no promotion online at all. And I just feel like this is kind of the time where you need to kind of promote the championship even more. Like I'm trying to put out tweets as well. Like I'll put out the occasion, obviously the yearly tweet on the predictions for the championship, who's going to win it, things like that, and trying to get a bit of excitement going. But it's just hard to do in all honesty, when you look at the way it's been promoted in the last few seasons. And even when you look at the league finals, 11,000 on Saturday evening, with Monaghan and Roscommon both in that double header on Saturday evening. Then on Sunday, 21,000, 32,000 across both days. And you look at the double header next Sunday, the Alliance Hurling League final in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, you have about 42,000, a full house in Super Hurling Páirc Uí Chaoimh next week. Tickets sold out within 6 hours? And I just feel like, in a way, there is an argument there to be had, and that's a prime example. Bringing like a league final down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh or whatever, bring it outside Croke Park and saying that maybe this could be better if you bring it outside to a provincial ground or something like that. Because you look at the league finals over the weekend, yes, it's great for Limerick and it's great for Wexford and great for Offaly indeed to have their day out on the sun in Croke Park, to experience the dressing rooms, to experience the match day preparation in Croke Park. But you look at the attendances. And Daniel Hussey, our good friend, obviously put it up on Twitter yesterday as well. They were just worrying. And, it's something that probably needs to change in the next few years. Or else kind of just promote it better. As you say there, have a 2-week gap between the championship and the league. I don't think it's difficult really to do that. You could, there's no pre-season competitions this year, for example. You could feasibly push the league to mid-January and then have the league finals end of March. And then have a week, at least, for preparation, for promotion, for player interviews, for things like that. Look at what soccer do for the Premier League or the World Cup. Look what the Six Nations do with rugby. They provide that time for the fans, for the media, to get player promotions going. But even then, inter-county teams aren't letting their players go for interviews either. So what can the media do as well? It's kind of a scenario which is kind of worrying in the last few years, where Gaelic Games probably isn't as promoted as we wished it would be in the last few seasons.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a hesitancy to it, you see the likes of the League of Ireland as well, and the work that they're doing and the promotion that they're getting and everything else. I did see Keane's comment there a little bit earlier. We'll get on to Roscommon and Monaghan a little bit later, but Gavin said here, no championship build-up. GA Plus dropped an hour ago, week into championship. Yeah, and I haven't really looked into the whole GA Plus thing just yet. As far as I know, it's just a replacement for GA Go, or how's that going to work?
Literally, Aaron. Yeah. And the thing is,
is there any actually added incentive to it, or is it just the same thing with a different name?
It's the same thing with the different name, to be honest with you. When you look at the TV schedule as well, the first week, you have 3 Connacht's quarterfinals on: London, Roscommon, New York, Galway, and Mayo. So I'm going to add to that as well, just to make it look a bit more pretty. But you even look at what TG Carr did with the league in rounds 1 and 2, or divisions 1 and 2, with the round 7 last day drama, and also Offaly and Clare. They streamed every game across YouTube, the TG Carr player app, TG Carr TV. Clubber do I don't know how many games a day as well. So there's no excuse not to have every single game on GA Plus. Honestly, and I feel like it's time for the GA kind of to get it by the scruff of the neck and put every game on GA Plus. And I don't think many people will be complaining about the paywall then, because you look at even, I don't want to bring other sports into it, but you kind of have to in these conversations as well. You look at Amazon Prime, for example. I know they've lost rights for the Premier League next season, which is a shame. But when they did 3 Premier League games on a certain week, all 10 match day games would be streamed live on Amazon Prime across the whole streaming platform. I don't get why GA Plus can't do something similar. You look at League of Ireland. The League of Ireland is an absolutely excellent example. You either have it on Virgin Media, you could also have it on LOI TV, but every game is streamed live across Premier Division, First Division as well. No matter what it is, it could be Athlone Town against Longford FC, it could be Cork City against Cove Ramblers, it could be any game, but the LOI TV will have it. Gaelic Plus doesn't have that. And we're going to have the same conversations, I think, once it comes to, let's say, May and June, because I looked at the schedule there across, I'd say, round 1 games in the Salmon World Cup, for example, in the group stage. I think only, 4 games in round 1 across 2 weeks. Then in round 2, I think it's about 3 or 4 games, with 4 games not being shown at all, which is a shame. Like, you had that conversation last year with Cork and Donegal Park. I know I was at the game, but you had that conversation. You were saying Cork, brilliant win over Donegal, one of the shocks of the championship, wasn't even shown. And I mean, we're going to have the same conversations yet again. And I honestly, I'll say this again, Aaron, I don't mind if Gaelic Plus is behind the paywall. But honestly, if it is behind the paywall, you have to stream every single game in the championship. Because LOI TV could do it. Why can't Gaelic Plus do? Yeah,
no, absolutely. Like the mad thing is, there are cameras at these games. You know, there are cameras at these games and everything else. They just won't be scheduled, and they did it before, like during COVID. I mean, they started showing the games then. I don't understood why there was a bit more of a premise to it back then, because of obviously COVID and everything else that went with it. But it's crazy, really. Like, and as you said before, it is disappointing, the lack of promotion, the lack of energy, excitement that really kind of goes into it. And yeah, especially for, you know, it feels to me like the GA are kind of resting and trying to exploit as much as possible the diehard fans. And there seems to be, at the same time, also no idea or plan to actually draw more fans in. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially looking at the League of Ireland at the moment, when you're seeing stadiums sell out, you're seeing games on TV. You know, it's very easy to just turn a game on and be like, you know what, I actually might give this more of a go. I might watch a bit more of this now. Whereas with the GA, there doesn't really seem to be any of that, really. It seems to be, you know, only diehard fans are sort of still going to games, still interested in games. And even at that, with all these new things coming out as well, like even they're being exploited as well. So yeah, it's, you know, we could go on about it all day, but it is disappointing.
It is definitely. It's a discussion. And Seamus did say at the start of the season, it's kind of a yearly cycle where we discuss these things. In the middle of February and March, we'll discuss exactly. Yeah, like in February and March, we discuss player welfare with college competitions and Gaelic games. In April, we'll discuss the promotion of the championship. In May and June, we'll discuss it about Gaelic Plus or GA Go or whatever it's called, and games not being shown whatsoever. Not every game is being shown. There will be a game that is absolutely excellent to watch, and it won't be streamed live whatsoever. Then there'll be the prices of the tickets for the All-Ireland finals. Then there'll be the split season around August and September, and then it'll be around winter pictures around November and December. It's a yearly cycle thing. There's going to be controversies that come up each and every season, and surely by now, at least one of those problems should have been fixed. Yeah. I won't say any more than that now, but surely one of those problems would have to be fixed if there's so much backlash over them for, let's say, a 2, 3, 4 year period. It should be fixed.
Yeah, Brian says here that the Leinster semi-finals are been scheduled outside Dublin for the first time since 1995 and in a provincial ground. Definitely the correct decision. Last year's semi-final only attracted 21,000. Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. I think it's great that it's happened. I think it's been a long time coming. He also says here as well, Croke Park is so surreal with small crowds. Also, definitely league finals need to be moved to provincial grounds. Last year's final had 39,000. It's an interesting one with the league final. Like, I think it's just one of them with Kerry and Mayo obviously having such a huge distance to travel to Croke Park. I think the fact that it is a week before the championship as well, I think there was just a lot of people that weren't really hugely interested in it. Kerry, like Kerry have been there before and won the league. Mayo have been there and won the league. I think there was a lot, like, obviously with Croke Park being in Dublin, there are going to be a good section of Dublin fans that are always going to go because of the fact that it's, Croke Park is on, more or less their doorstep. And obviously Derry last year, like getting to the league final, first league final in a long time for them, massive chance. They're building a lot of momentum. So it's an interesting one. Where do you, I think we both agree that Leinster semi-final is good to be moved outside Croke Park. But what do you think about league finals in Croke Park? I mean, should they be in Croke Park? Should they not be in Croke Park? Or what do you think?
It's a hard one to go to answer. I think maybe give it one more year, and if the attendance goes down, then I think it's time to move it. Like Danny Hosey put up the tweet yesterday, and I think this was the smallest attendance in a league final since 2011 between Cork and Mayo. Coincidentally, two sides that are in the same area. The Cork and Kerry, fairly much the same in terms of getting to Dublin. So yeah, you could argue the geographics there, but you had a brilliant doubleheader yesterday. You had Offaly, who were well able, with the support that they had, to travel up to Croke Park. You have Kildare, again, like Dublin. You could argue it's on Kildare's doorstep. You could get a train from, let's say, Maynooth or Leixlip straight into Drumcontra and into the ground. So I don't get what's the excuse there with those two counties. But for Mayo and Kerry, I do agree. Yeah, maybe they've been to Croke Park a bit too much. But then again, Mayo didn't go to Croke Park at all last year for the championship. They didn't at all, no. They didn't for the league either. They only went to Croke Park once in the last 2 seasons, and that was against Dublin in January in the league. So I don't see, it's a day out in Croke Park. You never know if you're going to be there again, ever, to be honest with you. Even as a Cork football fan, I'm thinking, if we could get to Croke Park, if we could walk along Jones's Road for once at least this season, that would be brilliant for this season. I would have thought that would be the mindset for Mayo. Maybe not for Kerry, because Kerry would have been in an All-Ireland quarter-final and the semi-final or final, give or take. Offaly, Kildare would have maybe thought would have been the same kind of premise as well. Monaghan, Roscommon, maybe, you never know. Their season could go awry. You never know if they reach an All-Ireland quarter-final. Wexford, Limerick, I sort of get, because Limerick in particular, they could just go for their hurlers. Wexford, there's a chance for their hurlers, but maybe not. So I don't know, to be honest with you. We'll let Wexford actually make it out of the Leinster group this season, but that's another story for prediction time. But yeah, I get it for some counties, but I kind of don't for others, if that makes sense. It's definitely not for Mayo, to be honest with you, because they haven't reached Croke Park regularly in the last few seasons. Kerry have, so maybe I get it from their point of view, but from a Mayo point of view, I thought there'd be a lot more support out yesterday, especially in the league final, especially with a chance of national silverware there on the line. But yeah, again, I think the main reason was it's too close to championship, and if the GA want to fix this kind of issue in terms of promoting the league finals even more and boosting the attendance, I think they need a weekend gap between championship and league. It's the only way to garner a bit of interest in both the league finals and the championship.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And and I think it's worth mentioning as well, obviously, with cost of living and everything else and prices going up, I think that probably does have a factor to play in attendances as well. I think for fans, paying for trains up or petrol or whatever it may be, and you're coming up to Croke Park. Look, obviously it was at an all right time where you wouldn't have needed a hotel or anything like that. But even at that, it's so much travel that's involved. It's so much money that's involved, especially when most people are up for work the next day as well. I can understand why a lot of fans from both Mayo and Kerry wouldn't travel. And as you said, usually, from looking at it, I was in Glasgow at the weekend, so I was watching the game just on my phone as I was waiting for in the pub waiting to get on the flight back to Dublin. But yeah, it just seemed like mostly majority of Mayo fans there from what I seen, but even at that, not a huge amount. And in fairness as well, it wasn't the best game. Brian says here, Dublin Kerry have only had close to sellout for league final in recent years. And Nerb says here, if hurling teams are out at Croke Park, why will football, when we've seen neutral venues work, Mayo versus Dublin, Roscommon, Galway versus Armagh, Sligo, the neutral venue will bring crowds. And Tom says, scrap league finals, leave it. There's a top team in each division wins the cup. Then every team will try their hardest, unlike some of the teams who wanted to avoid reaching a final. And yeah, and it is a fair point as well. And the league, at the end of the day, there's only three major trophies that you can win in Gaelic football, at inter-county level. And that's obviously the league, your provincial championship, and the All-Ireland. Now, obviously, there are some counties who will win their provincial championship a lot of the time, i.e. Dublin and Kerry. But that means for a lot of the other counties in those provincial championships, very rarely ever get a chance. Obviously, Ulster is very competitive. Connacht's quite competitive as well. But I think it should be an ambition to go and win the league. Even looking at Galway in the league semi-finals, I haven't won the league in a long time. Or not the league semi-finals the last day. Donegal as well. It is disappointing seeing teams maybe not fully going full throttle for the league when I feel like they really should be.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it's kind of the situation that we're in, that the championship is the next week, and maybe Mayo had their eyes on Sligo next weekend. As crazy as that sounds, maybe that was the case, but yeah, I just feel like it's kind of a competition, especially for Division 1 teams. It's a competition where staying up and you're fine. Basically, you guarantee a Sam Maguire place even before going into the provincial championships, 100% then, and leave it at that. A league final, a winning league final, or being in a league final for that matter, is a bonus. And even look at Division 2 as well, like Monaghan and Roscommon. Yes, you could see Monaghan kind of wanted it more than Roscommon on Saturday evening. That's why they got over the line as well. But even that attendance was very, very poor. 11,000 for two counties that are steeped in Gaelic football history, in fairness to them, and have a lot of Gaelic football support. Even with the double header there of Limerick and Wexford, it was disappointing to see that kind of attendance there. And yeah, Offaly Kildare was an excellent game of football. It was just a shame that it was a low attendance. And I think someone said on Twitter or X, as Elon Musk will call it now, that it was disappointing. Yes, the Kildare and Offaly was a good game, but the fact that it was such a low attendance, it had sort of a weirdness in terms of the attendance at the game as well. It didn't feel like a blood and thunder kind of a game. It didn't feel like a national final at all. But then again, you could go down the argument as well that you look at the hurling league finals, like I've seen Fermanagh Long managers say during the week as well, with their final in Division 4 being played in the truest centre of excellence in Monaghan, which was a disrespect in its own right. And they said that these sides deserve to play in Croke Park. So you could have that side of the coin as well. But yeah, it's something that the GA need to fix. But I think there's an easy fix to this, and simply have a week between championship and league games. That's your problem solved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, we could continue and go on about it. And Dylan does say here, I went yesterday, I was absolutely wrecked at work today. Tralee to Dublin is a long drive. Yeah, fair play to you, Dylan, for making that trip. Patrick says here should be a 2-week gap between end of league and league final, then another 2 weeks after the final before the provincial. Plenty of time at the end of season to push back the final out to August. Well, yeah, look, there was a game that did take place, and it was Kerry 118, Mayo 112. And look, there isn't a huge amount to discuss on the game, so we won't, delve into it really in too much detail. But look, overall, Kerry just that bit better in terms of attack. And yeah, I suppose another bit of silverware for the kingdom.
He's, I suppose, Jack, he's hoping to keep his kind of perfect record in terms of league and championship triumphs. That would probably be the main aim for Kerry in the next few months. But yeah, it was a bit of a kind of a spectacle. Yes, Kerry took 35 shots compared to Mayo's 24, and Mayo scored 112 overall, which isn't good enough really. 1 2-pointer across the whole game as well. Interesting stat, actually, Kerry in their last 3 games have not a single 2-pointer to their name, which I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing for Kerry? Seamus made a very good point on Kerry last night, saying that yes, they've won the league and yes, they've been impressive in the last 3 games, but it's sort of a concerning thing is they haven't got a 2-pointer, and there will be a point in an All-Ireland quarterfinal or an All-Ireland semi-final or a final where Kerry will need to kick one outside the arc. And you would question, is there any player that in that team that is capable of kicking it from outside? By looks at the last few games, or the league for that matter, Shawnee O'Shea, when he was fit, looks probably the only player that is capable of kicking outside the 2-point arc. Other than that, there isn't much, which is kind of a worry for Kerry. It's a small little worry. I'm sure they'll fix it by the time the Cork fixture, or should I say Cork or Limerick fixture rolls around in a few weeks' time. But yeah, Kerry will be I wouldn't say absolutely delighted, but delighted, I would say, with the win yesterday, how comfortable it was as well. Look, Mayo, it's hard to know whether Mayo are just off the level or they didn't care much about the game yesterday, because like it just had that sort of feel that they didn't want to go full throttle, and there wasn't much quality in the game either. I think the biggest talking point was David Clifford's the interview with Kevin McStay afterwards, referencing David Clifford getting fouls for him and things like that, and saying that Donegal McHugh was harshly treated in terms of marking him, things like that. Does David Clifford get overprotected in games? Look, if I was to say David Clifford gets overprotected in games, I'll say it this way, Aaron, I will get ridiculed, obviously, because I'm from a rival county. But maybe, but then again, McStay kind of has a point. But then at the same time as well, Donegal McHugh was dragging him all over the place yesterday. So you have to say as well, Clifford kind of deserved those fouls in its own right. But yeah, I'd say kind of a sensitive topic. We'll probably discuss it even more once the championship does roll around. But kind of a disappointing game yesterday. I think the only good parts was obviously Mayo getting the goal, the 2-pointer straight after for Mayo, which kind of made it into a game. And kind of the off the ball stuff that Donegal McHugh, Colin Breep and David Clifford had throughout the game too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like in terms of those comments by Kevin McStay, like I wouldn't really agree with that, to be honest with you. I was looking at a lot of those fouls and they didn't appear to be fouls from what I saw, or they did appear to be fouls, I should say. So yeah, no, I thought that was a bit of a, I don't know, just a kind of an easy kind of scapegoat thing to kind of point towards, in my opinion. But Brian says here, Kerry were far superior, won by 6. Yeah, absolutely. Patrick says Kerry 100% deserved winner. Mayo weren't at the races at all, but saying that Kerry still weren't great, held up by Paddy Clifford. Yeah, look, I think it was a bit of a damn squid game. I think towards the end of the game, you could see Kerry were not going full throttle. I think they still probably have another gear to go up on. And it didn't feel like Mayo, if Mayo had fought back and really gone for it towards the end, then maybe Kerry would have had to have played a little bit better to then go and win the game. But I just felt like Kerry always had Mayo at arm's length. Patrick says here, only for Paddy, it would have been only a 1 or 2 point win. Mikey says Kerry are going on holiday to Portugal and won't have to play for 3 weeks. Mayo out again next week. The uneven provincials on top of the redundant league finals make it an unfair playing field. And Brian says, I've never seen a Mayo team go down with such a wimp and lack of fight. Dylan says that was only Kerry at second gear. Unfortunately for us, we don't have a competitive game for a few weeks. Also, the 2-pointer thing wouldn't worry me. Our forwards have been absolutely deadly recently. Yeah, plenty of comments there, in fairness, but yeah, like overall, it wasn't the best game, to be perfectly honest. But look, fair play to the Kingdom and for Mayo. Look, who've won the league plenty of times in recent years and then gone on to have poor championships. It's certainly not the end of the world losing this final. Moving on then, Monaghan 126, Roscommon 19 points. Monaghan tasting silverware in Crow Park. Roscommon's great streak of winning the Division 2 title, unfortunately for them, has come to an end. Fairly even game for the majority, just really in the last 10 minutes where Monaghan pulled away and made the win a lot more comfortable. But yeah, what were your thoughts on this?
General thoughts for Monaghan were absolutely superb in this final, and there hasn't been a county in the last few years that has changed my mind so much as Monaghan have over the last few months. Like there was always that kind of period in sport, Aaron, when a smaller team punching above their weight eventually flatters to deceive one of these years. One thing could go wrong and then it flips automatically. Like the main example would be soccer. Like you look at Wigan Athletic and Portsmouth in the Premier League go down to the championship, and as soon as that happens, things stop to happen after that. And the whole thing goes belly up afterwards. That was kind of the thing I was expecting eventually to happen to this Monaghan team, because they have been punching above their weight for so long now. And Monaghan fans would be sick of it, I know. But look at the population of Monaghan have. I think it's smaller than Carlow. Like, they do have a small population, small amount of clubs as well, a small base to pick from as well. But they keep producing footballers, even with Conor McManus retiring, even with Kieran Hughes leaving over the last few seasons, even with Darren Hughes and Carl O'Connell not playing as much in the last few seasons either. They still produce new players, which is the most impressive thing from a Monaghan point of view. And they were exceptional, I have to say, on Saturday evening. They were really, really good. 6 2-pointers, obviously 3 for the king of 2-pointers himself, Roy Began. I think that's 38 points in Division 2 as well from a goalkeeper. I know it's freeze, but that is a remarkable tally. So it's a brilliant kind of tally to have as well. And he is a weapon for Monaghan to have, because if like, and Seamus made this point that's very good as well last night, that if you could see the free within 47 metres, even 50 metres, you're screwed against Monaghan, because you have this guy over the ball and he's going to ping it over the bar. But that's just the skill set that he does have. He's just a really excellent kicker as well. And even his kickouts, and someone pointed out to me after quoting my stats as well on Twitter during the week as well, 80% kickout retention accuracy for Monaghan over the weekend. And what I did say after the Cork game in particular in the scheme, Monaghan kind of struggled in midfield. We kind of dominated in midfield, kind of pillar to post in that particular game. But what I saw from them in Croke Park, they improved massively. And I think Roy Began has kind of caught on with the kick-out kind of routine under the new rules. And a new guy coming in, and he wasn't really noticed on Saturday evening, but I will mention this guy, Gary Mohan in midfield. He didn't play against Cork, but he came in against Roscommon our Saturday evening, and I thought he was superb. A feeling ball, I think he was absolutely excellent. He's a big, strong fella as well around the middle of the field. The kind of footballer in midfield that Monaghan do need. And he's definitely the guy to come back from injury and to produce a performance like that. He has come back in the last few weeks, but he's definitely improved Monaghan in that department as well. And you look at the attackers coming off the bench, Jack McCarroll coming off the bench and scoring 1-2. He did the same, did around the same against Meath in match day 6 in the league as well. He's just an excellent option to come off the bench as well. Like, even David Garland didn't have his best game the other night, but you have other players to step up. Micheál Bannigan was absolutely excellent, I thought. Late from the front, centre forward, the captain, absolutely outstanding. I thought Dylan Byrne from quarterback had a huge tussle with the Roscommon forwards as well. I think it was Ben O'Carroll he was on, had a huge tussle all game and got the TG Carroll man the match deservedly so as well. He had some really good performances all over the field from a Monaghan point of view. Like, you look at even Andrew Wood scored 3 points in the first half. Stephen O'Hanlon was dragged from pillar to post in the final, but he still got a point. It was still looking dangerous throughout the game as well. And you look at the shooting accuracies as well, look at the stats as well. Both sides had the same amount of shots, 31. Roscommon's conversion rate was 58%, Monaghan's 67%. Added on to the fact that Monaghan got 6 2-pointers compared to Roscommon's 1 as well. And it's just a brilliant performance. And Seamus asked me an interesting question as well last night, reading those stats. He was saying, what does that come down to? I genuinely think it does come down to Monaghan kind of be more, I would say, confident in front of the post and well able to kick from long distances as well. Like, Micheál Bannigan was kicked a 2-pointer the other night. Desi Walker kicked a 2-pointer in the first half. Conor McCarthy did so in the second half. Like, these players, other than Roy Began, who was absolutely excellent at them, there are other players in the team to step up in that 2-pointer kind of zone as well. And that's why I feel Monaghan would be a real threat in the championship as well. And this is a sort of kind of example to any prediction goers at the start of the year. We didn't know who would be suited most of the new rules and things like that. I will say now, after 8 match days, because obviously the final as well, Monaghan are probably the most suited team to this 2-point arc rule and the rules in general, with initially the goalkeeper, but Roy Began had to maybe change up his game in terms of the goalkeeper rule as well, a small bit, but he's easily adapted to that too. So he's been absolutely excellent. As for Roscommon, it's been a downward spiral in the last few weeks, Aaron, hasn't it? Since round 4, actually, they've only won 1 game, and that was against Cork, where there was a lot of scenarios to go in Roscommon's favour, like the hurlers for Cork playing beforehand, low attendance for the Cork footballers, and maybe the footballers kind of felt on a downward spiral then as well after that as well. And Cork were suffering from injury problems, and Roscommon kind of copped onto that, and they ran asunder Cork that night. But other than that, they've lost to Meath, they've lost to Cavan, they drew against Westmeath, which was an alarming result to me. I know they got promoted in the end, but how close were the margins? Like if Darragh McVitie scored that 2-pointer at Berkeley Park against Cork, Cavan would have been in this final, not Roscommon. So Roscommon needed to win that game, and they could have bottled that game easily. They ended up not bottling it because other like Meath and Cavan ended up being the bottlers after that. But in this final, they were outclassed by a better Monaghan team. And to be honest with you, Aaron, I think Roscommon in a way has stagnated going into the championship, which is a worry for Davy Burke. Like they reached a high at the start of the league campaign, winning 3 games out of 3. They've took a serious dip now, and I would really be concerned about Roscommon moving into the championship. But as for Monaghan, they're facing Kerry or Donegal in the Ulster quarter-final. And I'll tell you this, I know Donegal are going along very nicely at the moment. I wouldn't put it past Monaghan to beat them, though. Like, they are capable of a shock here and there in Ulster.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think Monaghan are looking very good, and there's a good few comments here. Kind of going into Monaghan maybe being dark horses, but Gavin was saying here, Aaron summed it up perfectly a few years ago. Roscommon either have a good league or championship, but I don't know what to make of this. We were promoted, but we were terrible after that Monaghan league game. It's been strange with Roscommon. Like, it's been a tale of 2 seasons within the one league. Like, ultimately you got promoted, so that's the most important aim. Like, I suppose you would take a little bit of positivity in the fact that Roscommon were very bad in the league last year towards the end of the league. I mean, they were poor for the majority of the league, obviously. But then went on to have a good championship. So it is kind of hard to really know. And there'd be nothing like an El Mayo game to, I think it's Mayo you could be playing in the semi-finals.
They're playing Galway in the semis, Aaron.
It's Galway they're playing in the semis. Well, look, that's a big game in fairness, so they should be...
granted they get past London. We have to respect the exiles as well.
True, yeah. And look, that'll be a tough game, in fairness, but there we go. Ben says here, great win for Monaghan on Saturday. Definitely something to bring into the championship. Also our first trophy in 10 years as well. Gavin also saying here as well, just about the barely scraping promotion. These second half collapses against Meath, Cavan, Westmeath and Monaghan are really worrying. Liam says Rossies are in big trouble. Galway will beat us by 20 points at Pearse Stadium if we get over London first. Not looking good at the moment.
Jeez, that's a bit of an exaggeration, isn't it?
Yeah. Jesus, I don't know. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't go as far as that now, to be fair. But yeah, there was a comment here from Keane earlier who says, I expected Roscommon to beat Monaghan, but hats off to the Farney counter. They were full value for the win. Rory begging at a super match, plus he kicked some great points. Dark horses for Ulster. And look, there was a few other people mentioned that as well, like Monaghan dark horses and everything else. I mean, look, we know that when Monaghan are on their game and ahead of full steam, they can definitely put something together. I mean, it was only 2 years ago they were in an All-Ireland semi-final playing Dublin, and they played very well that day as well, in my opinion. So, I mean, yeah, like could Monaghan challenge, like, as you said, obviously, like, if you're looking at it, you would imagine Donegal beat Derry. Obviously, that's not a guarantee as well. But given the form of both teams, Donegal will be certain favourites. It'd be tough for Monaghan to come through Donegal. But at the same time, I don't think there'll be much between them. And even at that, even if Monaghan don't come through that, they might be a bit of a dark horse in the All-Ireland. Not saying they'd win it now, but they could definitely go close.
I think a very good season for Monaghan, especially with a new management under Gabriel Bannigan. And Mayo say as well, he's doing an excellent job. A lot of negativity in the media at the start of the year about Monaghan, and he's come in, replaced Vinnie Corey, and hasn't changed much, but he's been absolutely brilliant, in fairness, Bannigan, so he deserves a lot of praise, to be fair to him, first of all. But I would think a successful season for Monaghan would be an All-Ireland semi-final. A weird way of saying this, are they capable of it? Of course they are. The players they have at the moment, they fixed the midfield issue. They have a superb goalkeeper, well able to kick from long distances. 6 2-pointers the other night. They're probably the kings, not just Bacon himself, but I think Monaghan are the kings of the 2-pointers themselves across the whole league campaign, other than Galway, I would say. I think they could certainly reach All-Ireland semi-final. I think Ulster, don't get me wrong, like Monaghan are a very good team and they should be not taken lightly whatsoever, but they definitely are a dark horse without doubt. But like, you look at the one they have to get to the Ulster Championship, they have to face, let's say, Donegal beat Derry, for argument's sake. It'll be Donegal, probably down, will probably beat Fermanagh, and then an Ulster final against, say, Tyrone, Armagh, or Cavan. That's still a tough game. The Cavan are going along nicely as well, with McVitie, McKiernan back as well. Paddy Lynch is about to come back for the championship. So you have those. Tyrone are gaining a bit of confidence with the Errigal boys back in the team. Armagh can never be sniffed at. So it's not going to be easy for Monaghan. But I will say, if they win Ulster, I would say, and All Ireland is not among the realms of possibility, because Dublin aren't as good as they were. Kerry, there's certainly a few things that Monaghan could get after, including the two-pointer thing. Monaghan are capable of two-pointers. Kerry have shown in the league that they're not. So there is a possibility that Monaghan do well against Kerry. I'm not necessarily saying beat them, but be very, very competitive against them, but give them a good scare in Croke Park. And I think Croke Park would honestly suit Monaghan. Look at how they performed on Saturday evening. Mayo, we've seen them, don't look in great shakes. Galway, Donegal, it's kind of hard to judge them at the moment. Did they peak too early or whatsoever? We'll have to see in the next few weeks. We've seen how Monaghan dealt with Roscommon as the season went on. Like, Roscommon were very, very poor on Saturday evening. And even in the height, like, Monaghan were leading Roscommon at half time. And they looked very, very comfortable in that game. And it was kind of a dip in performance in the second half that kind of let them down in that particular day. Like, I do feel like Monaghan are capable of beating anybody on their day. If they could go ahead and win Ulster, I think it would raise a lot of eyebrows across not just the province itself, but the whole country.
Gavin says here, we were dark horses in 2022 and all this rubbish and undefeated in the league, but we lost to Clare in the preliminary quarterfinal, so it might be better to be written off a bit. And Patrick says it's not impossible. Last two seasons, the winners came from Division 2. I mean, yeah, look, I mean, Armagh were beaten in that Division 2 final by Donegal, and I don't think anyone would have predicted Armagh from that point to go on and win the All-Ireland. So things can change so quickly, and even you think of Armagh losing in the Ulster final as well on penalties again, but yeah, having the willpower to go on and do it again. Look, not saying that's going to happen, but I mean, look, it is a funny old game. In fairness, Keane says Andy Moran is doing a great job as a coach with Monaghan too. Leitrim's loss is Monaghan's gain. And Gaelic Guy says, I think the All-Ireland has 5 sides who can go and win it. Armagh, Tyrone, Donegal, Galway, and Kerry wouldn't put Monaghan or Dublin out of it either. There we go. So that's the Division 2 final done and dusted. We have a Division 3 final, Offaly 217, Kildare at 118. And geez, what a year it's been for Offaly and for Mickey Hart coming in. Obviously, Declan Kelly deserves a shout as well for both him and Mickey Hart being able to make this whole thing work. But it feels like those under 20 players from a couple of years ago are really now starting to come into it and really starting to kind of come alive, really. I mean, we knew the talent always of Jack Bryant, Cormac Egan, Keith O'Neill, these kind of lads from that under 20 All-Ireland winning team. But they're really coming into fruition now. They're playing some brilliant football. They've beaten Kildare twice now as well this year, which is a very good achievement. So you would have to say Offaly are the better team. And yeah, what a season it's been for Offaly and for Mickey Hart and Declan Kelly.
It has been, yeah. First of all, the tweet that Colin Parkins had put out about Declan Kelly early on was bag out of order, in my opinion. Just to put that out there, first of all, he was saying that Mickey Hart obviously needs to be with Declan Kelly for the interviews. Declan lost by 12 points to London. He should step aside and let Mickey do the interviews. I'm just like...
No, I didn't see that, actually. Wow.
Like, it's just, Declan gave his life to Offaly football, obviously won the under-20 title in 2021. He was the reason why Offaly are rising up through the ranks the way they have. So Colin should just put the phone away and just leave it down. Simple as that. Brush that aside. Offaly were excellent. I thought they've played brilliant football throughout the whole league campaign. I thought they were absolutely excellent against Kildare as well. And when I say Kildare, look, there isn't too many worries as much as last season. They're still a developing team under Brian Flanagan. It'll be interesting to see how they get on during the championship. But from an Offaly point of view, Keith O'Neill, absolutely excellent. Cormac Egan. And I will say about Cormac Egan as well, and a lot of people were concerned about, and Peter Canavan pointed out last night and said that Kildare had much more bulkier players than Offaly. But one player in particular that I think has developed a lot of bulk since his underage days is Cormac Egan. Like, you look at the kind of the build of the guy now, Like, he's well set for intercounty football now. Jack Bryan has scored a superb goal yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised if that's voted goal of the year by the end of this year, 2025. That was an outstanding finish. The way he ran at the Kildare defence, the confidence to take it on, and then the outside of the boot shot at the top corner, absolutely superb. And that was a brilliant goal by him, and certainly showing his under 20 prowess as well. You have other players around the field, like John Furlong at centre back is having a very good season in an Offaly shirt as well. I thought Jordan Hayes took a very good 2-pointer as well. I thought Paddy Donegan, other than the Harry O'Neill goal, was was solid enough. Obviously, the goal he will be disappointed with. Cathal Flynn was very, very good from centre forward as well. Jack McAvoy midfield, Shane Tierney took a very good 2-pointer himself. So yeah, some brilliant performances from an Offaly point of view. It's just a shame that they'll probably be in the Tailteann Cup this year. But there's always the silver lining. To be honest with you, Sharon, it's a weird thing to be saying this, like, between Offaly and Louth. I know Louth reached an All-Ireland quarter final last year, and if Louth don't reach the Leinster final this year, they'll be in the Tailteann Cup. I would actually say Offaly are a better team than Louth right now, because they're adapting to the new rules. They have a lot of players that are well capable of winning things, obviously with the under-20 triumphs and all that as well, and they're well able to play football under these new rules. Whereas Louth are kind of struggling a small bit. They're kind of finding their feet under these new rules. Offaly have blasted in, and they look really, really good under it. Yes, it might be Division 3 and all that, but they look really, really good in fairness to them. And obviously Mickey Hart coming into the job, giving Declan a bit of a helping hand in this Offaly project. He deserves a lot of praise over that, in fairness. And his record in league finals is absolutely superb, obviously winning leagues with Derry, with Louth, and now with Offaly as well. He's done a superb job with everywhere he's got. Well, maybe not so with Derry last season, but maybe that was in some cases the Derry players not playing under or whatsoever. But look, it's a very good result for Offaly. As for Kildare, it looks likely, looking at the side of the draw they're on, they'll probably be in a Leinster final because they're on the side of the draw with Westmeath, Wexford, Laois and Louth. And I think Kildare would definitely fancy their chance to get into a Leinster final in that. And but then again, with Brian Flanagan, they've in the 3 games where it was kind of nip and tuck in Division 3 against Clare and 2 games against Offaly, they've lost all 3, which is quite a worry for Brian Flanagan. And added on to that with the shooting accuracies as well, 50% taken, 36 shots for Kildare yesterday, 26 for Offaly, and Offaly win the game. And it wasn't that far apart in the scoring either. Offaly scored 217, Kildare scored 118 as well. I would say they won more turnovers as well. Like the kickouts, I think they did very well. Callum Bolton was absolutely excellent under the high ball yesterday, which is a positive. But I think they need to kind of calm down when they're shooting. They need to stop panicking as well and nail those efforts. And I think once they take a big scalp, they're playing Westmeath now in 2 weeks, a game that is incidentally live on GA Plus in 2 weeks' time. If they can beat Westmeath, that will give Kildare a lot of confidence. But then again, if they lose that game, you're thinking, where's this team going under Brian Flanagan? He is building something in Kildare. I could see it. Like the underage talent of James McGrath, centre back, played an excellent game in fairness to me yesterday. He was one of the main players of that under 20 win in All-Ireland win in 2023. He's becoming one of the main players for Kildare now. Kevin Feely has done well enough in midfield during the league. Harry O'Neill got a well-deserved goal yesterday as well. So yeah, I feel like Kildare are developing in their own right. They just need a little few nuggets to improve on and just get the win to boost a bit of confidence here or there. But for Offaly, future's bright.
Well, it absolutely is. And huge positives there for Offaly football. And it's an interesting one with Kildare, as you said, like when they've come up against teams maybe, who've been obviously fighting for promotion alongside them. Like they lost to Clare, they've lost to Offaly twice. And even Gavin made a point here as well for what you're saying for Kildare. I thought they run away with Division 3, but they kind of scrapped promotion with Cavan, Loudmead and Cork established in Division 2 for the last 3 years. I'd be worried for Kildare. And yeah, it is an interesting point in fairness. In fairness for Kildare going up into a very established Division 2 next season. So it's hard to know if they have progressed, if they have kicked on. And obviously, as you said, that game versus Westmeath will be very interesting. And look, obviously, it's year 1 for Brian Flanagan as well. So it probably will take a bit of time before he can get this Kildare team to click.
Yeah, maybe so. But then again, it's year 1 for Dermot McCabe for Westmeath as well. So,
Mm.
and it was
Yeah.
year one for Peter Keane at Clare, and it was year one for Mickey Hart coming in as a joint manager with Declan Kelly. So yeah, I would say the excuses are fair enough in the league this time around. It's a new team. There's new developments. Callum Bolton coming in around the midfield area, claiming high catches. There's a few developments in the defence, which is coping well enough at stages. But the excuses are going to slowly but surely run out if Kildare are not going to do well in the championship. And they need a win, as I said before, to boost a bit of confidence, starting with Westmeath in 2 weeks' time. If they don't get that, there'll be a lot of questions, more questions than answers about Brian Flanagan's team. And I certainly believe Brian Flanagan is the right man to take Kildare forward. And it will take time. But the question is, will Kildare fans get impatient under Brian Flanagan? We'll have to see in the next few weeks.
Yeah, CW says here, Hart obviously knew there was good talent in Offaly that he could work with, and he's been excellent at harnessing that talent in lads like Cormac Egan. Great move by the Offaly County Board. Mikey says here, very little between the Leinster 4 of Louth, Westmeath, Offaly and Kildare. Yeah, there is, in fairness, and look, I put Meath in that bracket as well. You know, when you take Dublin out of the equation, there's a lot of teams that are very similar in Leinster in terms of quality. And look, maybe, like, could the gap be closing on Dublin? It's kind of very hard to know. You would still feel like Dublin are still just a good bit ahead of those counties. But obviously, look, we'll see when the Leinster Championship comes around. Great win for Limerick. They beat Wexford 3-11 to 18 points in the Division 4 final. Massive moment for Limerick football as well. I was trying to think. I genuinely can't remember the last time they lifted silverware in Croke Park in terms of the senior football team, if ever. So an extraordinary achievement there for Limerick. A disappointment for Wexford after having looked so good in the league.
Maybe so, but like before the game, Wexford had they had an injury to Glenn Malone in the warm-up, which was obviously concerning for him, and he went off injured, and he did play during the game, which is quite concerning, and obviously wish Glenn all the best. And then Shane Pettit obviously went off early injured for Wexford as well, another huge blow. So you kind of have to take that into consideration as well, that they lost their best players early on, even before Tyrone, and just soon after Tyrone as well. But for Limerick, it's a superb win. And I heard a commentary from Live 95, the radio station down in Limerick. They seem very, very excited about the win as well, which is obviously great to see, because hurling is obviously, and rugby is the king in Wexford at the moment. And to see the footballers flourish like this, there is potential in terms of football at Limerick. Like the likes of Emmett Richter and James Lochte, they're absolutely excellent footballers, and they deserve their day out in the sun. Ian Corbett as well, Josh Ryan, the goalkeeper, they deserve their day out in the sun. They got that day on Saturday. They performed brilliantly. They got over the line against Wexford, and it was a brilliant win for them, obviously. And Tommy Child's goal was probably the one that sealed it for them. Obviously, Peter Nash got a brilliant goal as well. Darragh Shukru took a very good goal in the first half, and that kind of set them on their way as well. And Wexford could have easily won it in the last minute through a Niall Hughes two-pointed, or drew it, and Niall Hughes two-pointed effort that just went wide. And that's where you have to give the GA one for once, the FRC board and editing, a lot of credit over this, because they tweaked the rule with the Hooter, because Wexford knew this was the last play now. This was their last chance. They either needed a goal to win it or a two-pointer to take it to extra time. Niall Hughes knew he had to kick it. He had no other opportunity. He was in a decent enough pocket of space for him. He kicked the ball, went narrowly wide. Imagine the seeds if that went over the bar under the new Hooter system. Like, it would have been absolutely brilliant. But look, it's a brilliant win for Limerick, and they deserve this praise, obviously, in getting the league title. And James Lochte obviously had a very good league campaign, scored 4-12 against Waterford in the past few weeks. They're playing Cork next weekend, so I'm kind of hoping, from my point of view, that they won't get too overconfident going into next week against Cork, and hopefully Cork can put them back in their box a small bit in the next week. Look, that's a joke, obviously, but look, wishing Limerick all the best. It was a brilliant trophy to get into the Division 4 final last weekend, and hopefully they put on a good show this weekend, seriously, against Cork in the Gaelic grounds this weekend, and hopefully they show what good footballers they are against a higher level opposition. Yeah,
and I know we were kind of alluding to it a little bit earlier, but it is just such a shame that they win this, and now they have to play Cork when Cork have had, a bit of time to rest. And obviously we're saying about some other teams obviously in there as well, like especially if there was just a bit more of a gap, Limerick could prepare for the game a bit more, whereas now they might be a bit goosed, going into that game potentially. And look, both teams at their best, Cork probably still win anyway, if we're being honest, but probably just lessens the chances of a bit of a shock. But yeah, huge win for Limerick, and fair play. Like I think for Jimmy Lee, who obviously took bit of stick maybe at times last year for when things were going quite badly in Division 3 and going into Division 4. You expected they would be up there, but would they actually get promoted, and would they actually go and win the title as well? It's been incredibly impressive from a Limerick perspective. And look, for Wexford, they've done what they have to do in terms of getting promotion, and have obviously had a very, very good season as well. A few comments here. Joe says the idea that Monaghan have been punching above their weight is a very tired cliche. Arguably, Monaghan have underperformed in the last 10 years for what has been a top 6-7 team since 2018. There probably have been years where Monaghan have underperformed, but in my opinion, and I know it was more Matthew that maybe said it, but I would agree with you as well in terms of Monaghan punching above their weight. And it's not more so about the actual team, it's more so about the county in terms of the resources that they have available to them, the population of the county in comparison to what other teams have. Like you look at Meath and Kildare, who probably have greater resources, probably have had better underage over the last 10 years or so, but it's Monaghan who consistently outperform them counties by a mile as well, I would say. So I think it's more
even on that comment even on that commentary, I just had a quick Google search. The top counties in terms of population, Monaghan are actually 28th place. Only Fermanagh, Carlow, Longford and Leitrim have a less population than Monaghan. So that's the Carlow have under 4,000 less than Monaghan actually, which is quite interesting. Like Sligo have a bigger population, Cavan, Offaly, Kilkenny don't even have a football team. Waterford have a bigger population than Monaghan. Wicklow do, Donegal do, Tipperary obviously. Meath are 8th place in terms of counties, and you mentioned them there. Like they're not performing in the last few years. Cork are 3rd, well underperforming. Antrim are 2nd, Down are 4th. Kildare in 7th place. It's like compare those to Monaghan. They are punching above their weight when you look at the populations there. I know it's Monaghan, as we say, it's a tired cliche, but you look at the facts there. They have a smaller population than 27 counties in the island of Ireland. That is punching above your weight.
Yeah, and it is a compliment, like, to be fair. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's meant as a compliment anyway. Brian says Brian Flanagan is the right man for Kildare. They have players who come through and won under-20 All-Irelands. Brian says Dublin need a very strong and competitive Kildare and Meath. Still say Dublin are still a good bit ahead. And Joe says 90% chance one of Dublin, Kerry or Galway win the All-Ireland. Monaghan could surprise us all with a chunk of young players who fear no one. Only need one win. Only need to win 3 games in a row. 100-1 is madness. Yeah, no, look, I would agree with you there. I think 100-1 is a bit of a mad one there. But yeah, look, we'll wrap it up there. I suppose before we do, in terms of player of the week and moment of the week, what would you be thinking?
I think player of the week, you kind of have to say, like, I'd say you have to choose a Monaghan player this weekend, the way they performed, or Keith O'Neill for Offaly, for that matter. I'm going to give it to Micheál Bannigan. I thought he was excellent for Monaghan the other night. Dylan Byrne obviously deserves a compliment as well for calling back, but I'm going to give it to Micheál Bannigan, the captain. And for moment of the week, it's a difficult one. Probably Jack Bryan's goal for Offaly. I thought that was an excellent finish, and definitely deserves the plaudits for that as well. And just before we end the pod as well, congratulations to Down, to Mayo, and to Louth, who won the hurling Division 2 and Division 3 and Division 4 titles as well over the weekend. So congratulations to them for also winning league honours over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great achievement for those counties. And yeah, I think in terms of my player of the week and moment of the week, player of the week, I'll go with something a little bit different. I'll go with Paddy Clifford. Look, he was fantastic for Kerry. And then in terms of moment of the week, yeah, like seeing Limerick win silverware. You know, the men's team is obviously a phenomenal achievement, and seeing them lift the trophy and everything else, and how much it meant to them, I thought was great to see. And especially for Offaly as well. Like, I think that's what the league is all about. You're seeing them celebrations, and that's what it should be all about. So go for both of them. Just winning silverware in Croke Park, huge moments for both of those two counties. So yeah, look, we'll wrap it up here. For anyone who tuned in, hit the like button and subscribe if you could. We'll be back later in the week for an All Ireland Championship predictions video. Hopefully we'll have the time to get it in there, especially with the fact it's just a week away, but hopefully we'll try and squeeze it in. But yeah, until then, hit the like button and subscribe if you could, and we'll speak to you all soon.